everybody. Welcome back to episode 6 of Talkin Cardboard. I am your host, Cardboard Legacy, and over here we have Robert, Cardboard Squares. Today we've got some really fun things. It is Draft Day Eve. We're going to talk about KD and the Nets sweep and what that means for his cards and some of these other NBA players. We're also going to talk about NBA playoff injuries. We've got a segment on retail. Wax kind of getting stale, sitting on the shelves. Nobody's buying it anymore. Well, not as much. And then we've got MLB Standouts so far. And then we've got kind of a rainbow update from Robert on his Wander Rainbows. And then I've got, last but not least, I visited a new card shop today that opened up recently nearby. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So, Robert, dude, tomorrow's draft day. Are you excited?
I'm thoroughly excited. I think that this class may not be what all the hobby people want, but for me, playing football through high school, a little bit in college and all that kind of stuff growing up, I find that this year the linemen are going to get the love.
Yeah.
There's no way about it, is especially just in the sport itself. These guys are down in the trenches. They're protecting the quarterbacks that everyone loves so much and is willing to pay all these high dollar amounts to. But as you know, the hobby goes most times, it's the first through 5 draft picks that everyone's trying to get. Well, what's everyone going to do this year when it's all offensive tackles?
Right. Yeah. So we were talking about it just before we clicked off here to record this episode. The top 10 is position player lists. I mean, there's no real huge, amount of talent and kind of like flashy, awesome dudes other than, a couple of edge rushers on D, some O linemen, we've got safety, a cornerback or two, but literally there's no QBs in the top 20. Like my prediction is we don't see a drafted QB until pick maybe 24 or 5, somewhere in there. And then wide receivers are kind of middle of the round if they go, and some of those could fall. I mean, defense wins championships, and all the football, organizations know this, and this is a huge draft class for defense.
Yeah, like I said, I'm happy to see linemen actually get the love they deserve. And especially in the hobby, it's one of those things where you have to look at rarity versus scarcity. This day and age, you have Herbert autos out the wazoo, all these quarterback autos out the wazoo. You don't really come across lineman autos all that much.
No.
And it's one of those things where that's when we get into rarity versus scarcity. Finding a numbered Herbert might be rare to find for sale, people holding, getting ready for next season. But with these linemen, not only are they rare, they're scarce. There's just not as many printed. So it's one of those things when you look at a pure numbers game about it, it's one of those things where we might see a little push this year to the love. And, it's going to make a lot of people very happy. It's going to make a lot of people really sad. But I say, hey, let's love for the big men. Let's do it.
Let's go. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I have a feeling maybe that because there isn't any, let's say ultra sexy players in the top 20 picks or whatever it is, are we going to see a little bit of waning interest in this year's draft products or rookie class chasing?
That's going to be hard to say right now. I mean, there's going to be a lot of trades, in my opinion, that are going to happen between today and tomorrow's first pick. But I feel that if those collectors are there, they're always going to be there. I think when it comes to the collegiate stuff, it's more so about the school than it is about the actual players.
Okay.
You want to show your support for where you represent, up by you with Wisconsin. Down here, we got University of Tennessee. So you walk into a card shop down here, most places have a dedicated UT section where it's basketball, football, baseball players I've never heard of, but it sells because it's what it is it's local community, but it also might be, especially in these local communities, someone you grew up next to.
Right.
Someone you played ball against in high school or travel ball or anything like that, but it's also the chance of meeting them.
Yep.
Well, it's better than picking up a card from a local shop and then going to a local game and potentially getting that person to autograph that card. Now you have this amazing piece of art that aren't floating around everywhere, but it's something that you did by yourself, getting that autograph, and it's something special. So I think it just depends on what your belief in the system is.
Right. Yeah. And, to your point on that, collecting, you've heard of Jace Amaro, right? Football player. No. Okay. Anyway, maybe nobody has, who knows? But I sold one on my eBay account to a gentleman with the last name Amaro. So like dude could be related, you know what I mean? So there's no reason for any card not to sell technically. And, I think offensive line, defensive line, anything like that, it carries that same weight, but it never carries the same price. So,
Exactly.
It'll be interesting, definitely, to see what's going to happen. My prediction tomorrow, we see more trades in a draft day than we maybe have ever seen before, or something in that, kind of thing. It's going to be interesting. That's all I know, because there's so little upside for a lot of people's offenses in this, for real impact position players. So it's kind of interesting.
But also, you got to look at the NFL. I mean, I really don't think that there's any teams out there right now that are clamoring or dying for a running back or a wide receiver that is not available in the league.
Okay.
I mean, you have these things where 2 years ago it was protect Joe Burrow, protect Joe Burrow, protect Joe Burrow, and they went out and did that.
Yep.
So I think that's the first validation to show you how important these linemen are. And it's been a while since we've had a class like this with the linemen coming out. I mean, you go back into the 90s and Emmitt Smith, great running back. Without that O-line,
not as good.
Career that he has. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens winning the Super Bowl without the line and the linebackers that they had, they're not winning that Super Bowl. I mean, when you have Ray Lewis coming across the middle and Ed Reed over the top, you're not putting the ball anywhere. You give your front four a couple of seconds to get to the quarterback, they're going to get there.
Yes, sir.
So it's one of those things where I think that it's going to be a little bit of a evolution for draft day in general, but also in the hobby. I kind of wouldn't mind seeing some things spiced up and changed up a little bit, but we don't know until everything comes out and we see what happens tomorrow.
So, along that note, for draft products and the draft happening coming up here, May 11th, you told me, looks like we're going to have a dual drop of Prism draft picks and regular Prism. Yep. So this it could be concerning to some people, right? Muddies the waters, does a couple of things, but my thing is I've always thought those are two differently tiered products for the consumer. And I think, the draft picks is usually the cheaper option. Obviously, the collegiate jerseys, not pro jerseys, so it's less desirable and its price point is usually lower. Do you think that either product suffers because they're being dual released, or do you still think there's enough tiered niche for people to want what they want?
I think the tiered niche, I don't know so much about. I have to look into some more analytics to really see if the buying power is out there. But for me personally, it's one of those things where why release two of your largest products of the year on the same day? I mean, first of all, it's terrible that we have to wait till May to get rookies from last season. Like it's terrible. But it's just when you have two products like that, either get your distribution together, get your production together, or even if you are going to be delayed, push it back. Why do we have to have those right then? But as a buyer, I think that it's going to be Prism, regular hobby, that's going to be pushed the hardest. But I might buy some of these draft pick boxes just to put to the side because of the fact that we don't know who's going to come out of this. There are going to be running backs and wide receivers drafted.
Oh, that sure.
Is going to happen. So if everyone is focused on the players that they know from last season with regular Prism, come this season when we start having some standout players and some rookies and people making those jumps, it could drive those prices way up as season goes on versus at the original drop.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Well, and the other thing too that's interesting is it's technically going to be this year's draft class and last year's players for regular Prism. So so it's this weird, they're happening at the same time, but they're not even the same year product. Correct. So that's definitely kind of strange. But check your retailers on May 11th, everybody. Buy all that stuff up and then open it up and send it all to me. Cool. Any other thoughts on draft day tomorrow?
I'm just excited to see where the picks go. I think that's going to be probably, like you said, one of the most interesting parts about tomorrow's draft is what teams make that choice to either give up or try to move up in the draft to either get the protection they need or to get some of those edge rushers to, bump up their defense.
Very good. Very good. All right. So moving on to our next topic. I'm not the hugest fan of Kevin Durant. It's a true story. If anybody knows me very well, you would know that. But I am kind of relieved and happy that they have been swept in the playoffs. They are done. They're on vacation. Sayonara. See you later. At least Giannis doesn't have to run through them now. They do have to go through a tough Boston team. That's real. But what do you think about Kevin Durant's card values moving forward after this quick exit, last year's exit, basically not doing a whole lot, other than looking a little flashy during the season since he won at Golden State?
He's still, no matter what anybody says, one of the most prolific scorers in the NBA.
I can agree with that.
I don't know what his age is, to be honest with you. So I'm not sure exactly how many. I know he's got plenty of time left in the league, but it's one of those things where one person does not make a team.
Right.
And I will never hate on anybody for chasing their dreams and doing what they want to do. And everyone says, the Warriors built a super team, this, that, the other. KD went there ring hunting. Well, yes, he did. And to anybody that plays in the NBA, that's the goal. You want to win a championship.
Right.
But as far as everyone talking about, they're just a super team, not really. They drafted everyone that's on that team. Clay they drafted. This other Splash brother they drafted, little guy coming from nowhere that no one wanted
Jordan
to
Poole lighting it up right now. Yeah.
So it's just, they've built their team the way that it's supposed to be done instead of just assembling players like Miami did, which was the first super team back in the day, bringing Bosch down from Toronto, LeBron taking his efforts and his dreams to Miami. It's a little bit different in that sense. Obviously, with any kind of loss or especially being swept and knocked out of the playoffs like that, it's going to take a hit. But he's just one of those players. It's like asking the question of, did LeBron's cards take a hit this year with him not even going to the playoffs?
They didn't have any more catalyst, but he's a different player. He's got the 4 chips already.
He's got the 4, but he should have like 7 or 8.
Well, yes, of course.
And it's just one of those things where he's had teams built around him way before Kevin Durant did. My biggest thing with that whole series is when they made it to the playoffs, Kyrie was allowed to play at home. If Kyrie would have been able to play at home for the regular season, I don't think that Brooklyn would have been seeded where they were seeded.
Sure, which means they wouldn't have played Celtics. Yeah.
Yep. And the Celtics right now do have probably the toughest defense in the playoffs.
They look like absolute leeches. You know what I mean? They're just like all over everything and playing with their heart. It's amazing to watch. And I'm a little scared for the Bucks, but I think the Bucks can match intensity.
I don't think you should be scared at all. This is the way I look. It's same thing with football too, and just everything through the playoffs. You're gonna wear down.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, if I was Brooklyn, I would have much rather have seen Boston in the next round or even the finals, because they're going to be tired.
Right.
Playing defense like that is not easy on your body. Playoff basketball is not easy basketball. I personally think that Giannis is going to average 35 and 10 for the series.
Boom.
I mean, that's just what I see. If not higher, I think he'll have at least one game of 55 or more.
Dang, dude, that's a big prediction, but I'll take it.
He's on another level. I mean, he's just one of those guys that I think that we're going to see what everyone thought KD was going to be when he left and went to Brooklyn to try to build a team. I think is what the man in Milwaukee is going to be, and he's not going to go anywhere. I think that people are going to want to come to him and play, and realistically, they're just a very, very well-rounded team.
There is, there's a lot going on the team other than, the injury stuff, but we're going to get to that in our next segment. But, getting back to KD, I do think his cards dip over the summer. I think they dip pretty hard. It was a quick out. I mean, a sweep's never a good look. And he had a stretch of shooting in there. I think he went like 0 for 9 or something, or
I think it was upwards of 0 for 13.
okay, yeah. So
Like it was bad.
yeah, I mean, and I think the super team experiment is over in Brooklyn. It was over, I think, when they traded Harden, but they were still trying to keep it alive with Ben Simmons, and that turned into a giant nightmare joke, whatever.
I mean, Ben Simmons could have a show all about him. I mean, I don't see the point of being at the level that he's at. Like it's if you're a basketball player and you're a youngster, 12, 13 years old, your goal is to get to the NBA. And for the people that get there, they don't tend to squander the opportunity.
Right.
And I feel that he's not only squandering the opportunity, but almost annihilating himself against the rest of the players in the NBA.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Do you really want someone like that on your team, or can you even call him a teammate? I don't care if your back is sore, if your back is hurt. You get out there and you play.
If you can play and contribute, yes.
Yep. I mean, look at Blake coming off the bench.
Right.
Blake looked great. I was shocked to see him out there knocking down the shots he was knocking down. I was like, good for you, Blake.
Absolutely.
That guy has been through the ringer. And I still say that it's just one of those things where don't be selfish. It's a team sport. Be a team player. Really, it's going to be interesting to see what Brooklyn does during the offseason. Is Nash the guy?
Yeah, I don't know if he is either.
It's one of those things where a lot of players are trying to become coaches, and they say those who can't teach. But it's just like, if you've done it, maybe you're not a great teacher, or maybe you're just not ready for that role yet.
Or when you've got that many superstar caliber players, they don't really have that same respect for you as some of those other guys might. You know what I mean?
100. I mean, being a Heat fan, I mean, look at Spoelstra. I mean, it's just one of those guys that came from nowhere. He started in the film room, and now he looked at as probably one of the top 10 coaches in the league, and probably has been for the past nearly decade. I mean, it's just one of those situations where let the coaching stick with the coaches. If you're a former player, maybe become an assistant coach or work for the organization first and work your way up. But it's just one of those things where I just can't see him being there next year. But then again, it's who do they get?
Right. Yeah. Who's out there? Who's available? Who can they bring in? That's a great point. What about Kyrie's card value? You think that just stays a constant low hanging fruit? Because it hasn't been doing much.
Kyrie is another animal within himself. I mean, to me, I think he's top 5, maybe top 7 point guards all time. I mean, it's all the outside stuff that bring him down.
Sure.
I mean, flat earth and all this other kind of stuff. It's just hard to take someone in that role seriously.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
When it's like, really, flat earth? Like that's where we're going to go with this? But as pure basketball skill, he's just one of the greatest to ever play the position. Hands-wise, there are 20 to 30, if not everyone in the league would kill to have the handles that he has. And again, that situation, what if he would have been allowed to play at home all year?
Yeah.
And it's just funny the way things go and, this, that, and the other. But I think he's going to take his dip. But it's going to be, if he stays in Brooklyn and does all that with them, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next season.
Yeah. I'd be curious, if Brooklyn looks at anything the same next year, I'll be surprised. I think they're going to toss it up and say, I don't think it worked, guys. Let's move forward. Let's move into something just a little bit different, at least. Right. Okay. Next section for us here, we're going to talk about all the injuries impacting the playoffs right now. And earlier today, you sent me the list, the laundry list of teams with players out. 2 of the biggest ones impacting my world, from what it looks like right now, it's Chris Middleton, for the Bucks, and then Devin Booker for the Suns. I think are the 2 bigger names in the injury segments. Luka's back now, he's okay. Anybody else major that you can think of?
I mean, for me, it's kind of crazy seeing the Miami Heat with no Kyle Lowry and no Jimmy Butler,
Oh
and
yeah, that's right.
still,
Jimmy Butler's too. Yep.
and so like seeing the two key players for Miami being out, but yet still knocking Atlanta out of the the playoffs
Mm-hmm.
is a great thing for me to see. But I also believe that Miami's bench is extremely deep. It's one of those teams again where defense is kind of what keeps them in it. They're not the most offensive scoring team in the league.
Right, but they got solid D.
Solid defense. I think we're seeing the rise of a future superstar come from Miami. That's Bam Adebayo. He played a hell of a game. Past 2 years, he's been absolutely amazing, and I think he's going to continue to grow. Pat Riley, one of the greatest basketball people ever, whether it's playing, coaching, GMing, just owning and running an organization. I mean, you can't knock the man who's coined the term three-peat. You just can't do it.
Right.
I mean, just looking across the league in general, I mean, it's insane. I mean, sadly, Wiseman with a knee. We'll see what happens with him next season. The Pacers were just dwindled this year. I mean, the Lakers went crazy. Thankfully, LeBron's not going to need surgery on the ankle.
Right.
For me, Zaire Williams from Memphis is one of those things where I'm not sure how big of an impact it is, but it's also significant, if that makes any sense at all.
Sure. You'll miss him. You'll miss him for sure.
And then obviously, New Orleans with the whole Zion situation, but like I've been saying it since last year, he'll never play more than 60 games in any NBA season. I'm calling that now. I've been saying that forever.
On a side note on him, he wants to play, but the Pels organization is keeping him out. That's what it looks like to me, because I've seen some clips of him doing some through the legs dunking before the game the other day and all this stuff, and it's like he's looking just fine. What's up with his foot, right?
Yeah, but again, it's just to go from one injury to another, and then for me personally, watching him put on the weight that he put on and just not taking care of his body the proper way. I understand that you're injured and you're kind of living life, but at the same time, you got to put an organization on your back, and that's why they drafted you. And I kind of just feel bad for the Pels fans in general. It's just one of those things where I have a strong feeling that either he will be out of there or half of his team will be out of there not too far from now.
Dang. And who I feel bad the most for is anybody who spent over $1,000 on a Zion card at any point. And there's some people who spent some multiple $50,000 on some Zion shit. So,
but that's prospecting as a whole. That's anywhere. I mean, let's look at Andrew Wiggins. Same thing happened with him the year he came out.
Yeah.
People spent buttloads of money. And then all of a sudden this year he gets, playing with Golden State, getting everything they did, makes the All-Star game, and bada bing, bada boom, his prices are starting to rise again because people threw all that stuff in the closet. Oh, this guy's never going to be worth anything, or bought it for the low. So, like, that's the ebb and flow of the hobby. Like, that's going to happen. But it's also, I think that the big push with Zion came from the pandemic. I mean, you had all these people at home and not wanting to, or not being able to do anything. So card breaks and everything became a massive, massive part of the world. I mean, the hobby's grown exponentially since then. So I think that the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to see what the hobby is really going to be looking like. I think that you're going to see a lot of things equal out. It's like my opinion. I still, to this day, do not understand the Luka craze.
I mean, I did in the early parts just by watching him, just going, dude's good. Dude looks like, modern Larry Bird, if I had to kind of compare it, just because he's white, I guess. But I mean, but he looks like when he's on the court, he looks that good. I'm not saying he is that good, and as a young player, Bird wasn't electric right out of the gate, like, like he was in the mid-career, later part of his career. But, literally he's a playmaker, and he scores. He's unselfish. There's a lot you can say about Luka's game that's good, but his prices are not deserved. Not even close. Nothing about any one of one, any $1 million, sorry, Jada Fire collector, I mean.
$1 million, 4.6 million.
Well, whatever. Like, I'm sorry, just no, because he's a rookie of the year and that's it. I mean, that you don't get high valuations on your cards because you're just a rookie of the year. If that was true, you know, so many more people would be worth so much more money. You know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
Luca craze is something that I think is dying unless they run deep.
If they get a real number two there, I think that it might start to get up again, but nowhere near what it like. I just can't see spending the money on him that people are spending on him right now. Now, if you're doing it for long-term hold, obviously, possibly, maybe it might work out for you, but it's just one of those situations where you can only be as good as what surrounds you. And the Dallas organization definitely knows how to do that. And there's some really, really interesting characters coming out of OTE over the next couple of years. There's some 7-footers coming out. So if you can get another Dirk-like person in Dallas, I mean, if you would put Luka and Dirk on the court together, holy Lord have mercy, that would have been scary as all can be.
Right. Or, just put just bring Luca to the Bucks. We'll be all set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would complement pretty well, because he makes plays when he needs to and he doesn't have to shoot. So
That would be scary.
yeah, it would. So
That would be scary.
speaking of the Bucks, injury to Chris Middleton is pretty devastating for a potential defensive run, on their championship title. Grayson Allen's come in and shot 49 points over 2 games. That's pretty big. I'm not a huge Grayson fan. I didn't like his dirty playing, but I do have a nice numbered patch rookie there. Been holding on to that one for the playoffs here, just waiting to see what would happen. But it's interesting how people can come in as next man up, and some of them fail, and some of them really take pride in the role, and they kind of really step into it and make a difference. And man, did he make a difference! And I think the Bucks are actually on TV right now, and I'm missing it, but that's okay. So I mean, if Grayson can hold off long enough and be the role player we need him to be, Chris Middleton comes back in 2 weeks or so, and then maybe we're still alive and making a run at it for good. So just need him to work out for a little while. And Devin Booker's out for 2 weeks, I believe, as well.
Yeah, MPJ is out for Denver. I mean, it's just literally across the board is just riddled. Chicago is just poor Chicago. I mean, Zach LaVine is out, Alex
and Caruso,
Matt Thomas, Lonzo Ball.
Yep.
Like, it's just across the board. I mean, Atlanta, being down Lou Williams for, the game 5 was probably not good for them. But it's just, this is what happens. People get hurt. It's hard to stay healthy, especially when you're playing at the elite level of athletics that they're doing. But it's also, I think, shows a lot of how these teams maybe depend on one or two people. It's great to have 2 amazing all-star players, but what happens when one of them goes down? I would much rather have consistency. It's like Miami. Like, I look at Miami right now. The fact that they could pull off a Game 5 win without Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Buckets kind of tells you something. And Jimmy Buckets has been having an amazing playoff run so far. So it's one of those situations where depth is one of those things when, you look at even the early 2000s, depth was the key.
Oh yeah, Manu Ginobili for the Spurs, like the best 6th man to ever do it, and could have been a starter on any other team. That's depth definitely is a huge deal, and especially when they can come in and play defense.
And it's one of those things that I just think that the NBA has kind of forgotten about. They want to build these all-star teams and put on a show, but realistically, is it worth having a 80% win rate and not make it to the chip, not get a chip, not get anything? So, like, for me, I'd much rather have lose 20 games out of the season and make it to at least the semis every year and have my chance of getting it than trying to put together this, it's all or nothing. Well,
right.
That's never going to work. It just never does.
Maybe once, maybe twice, LeBron got lucky.
Yeah. But I also believe with that, it was the beginning of that style. So
yes.
there was no other teams that had the support to really go against that because it was the first of its kind. I mean, I remember, I forget what the whole trade was, but remember when Chris Paul got denied his trade?
Oh, where did he want to go? I forgot where he wanted to go.
I think it was either like the Lakers or the Clippers or something like
Was it
that.
the
But
Lakers? It might have been the Lakers. He was trying to get there.
it was something. And it's just like that would never happen in this day and age. And who knows where he would have been if that would have gone through. Like that's just crazy to think of as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers was a terrible failed experiment this year. You need some younger talent. I mean, those guys they're just all looking old. Carmelo and oh Jesus,
Well,
Westbrook and everything. That was just a disaster. I mean, injury plague disaster. So, all right,
Father time caught up with them.
so good luck to anybody in the NBA with the injuries. Let's see some fun finals this year, regardless. Moving off of that topic, our next one. I've been out and about cruising around lately, checking out Walmarts and different places and just kind of looking at what's available on the shelves. And every time I go now to a Walmart or any store that normally has cards, I'm seeing stuff on the shelves. So I want to just kind of cover this. And I know, Robert, you may not have a ton of opinions on this or whatever, but retail wax, guys, it's sitting out there on the shelves. Some of these places, I feel like, the soldier flippers that didn't have jobs or had to stay home for the pandemic. I think most of that whole scene is gone. I think I think there's a lot of breakers that just kind of gave up because it's hard work and for not a shitload of money. I mean, it's the truth. So there's a lot more retail product availability. I don't think they're printing more. I think they've obviously had a print run, set up the manufacturers pre the printing and all that stuff. So I feel like it's just getting stale, or there's a decrease in demand on the retail products. Do you have any thoughts on any of that? I know you were in the store the other day.
I mean, for me, it's one thing that we also got to take into consideration is how many more LCSs have popped up in the past 10, 12 months.
True. I mean, I'm starting one, right?
Yeah. So with people being able to get back into the world, everything going back to quote unquote normal again, I think that you're seeing a lot of people go to these LCSs, and I think a lot of people are buying and investing in singles versus wax right now, especially when it comes to retail product. But however, a big thing that I didn't even think about is what you said, with a lot of people who are trying to break, not making it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be because they didn't realize how tough it was going to be, whether they thought, with the pandemic, it was kind of easier to get everything sold because people were sitting at home. And now that, everything's opened back up and people are doing things again, it's not flying off the shelves like they thought.
Yep.
Or it could just be people just holding it and stashing it. I mean, that's been one of the biggest talks for the past 2 years. Hold your wax, hold your wax, hold your wax. And for me, I've seen it with a personal product that I love to open. Price just keeps going up and up and up. So it's one of those situations where I think sealed wax is becoming more of a saving instrument than it is buying singles, because you don't know what's in it.
True.
It could be this, it could be that. But for me, I just think that a lot of it is also the timing of the year. I mean, football is done. Basketball, we're in the playoffs. Baseball is just getting going. And it's crazy how many baseball collectors are out there. But this year's product, as much as I hate saying it, until about halfway through, we won't know really anybody coming out of that product other than Wander.
Right.
A couple of players that have made their notes. So I believe that that's why baseball is not selling all that well. And the one product I honestly see between going out to the stores or people's Instagrams on Facebook is hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I think hockey is severely undervalued. I hope that ESPN figures out a way to get better promotion and advertising for them, because I think that could be a very, very solid sleeper. But it's just, I think there's a lot going on right now. People trying to transition from sport to sport, get ready for football next year. And I just think that football and basketball are the ones driving the hobby right now, 100%. And it's just kind of hard to do when we're in the playoffs now. So people are going for more for players than for product.
Sure.
And then in about 2 months' time, 3 months' time, when spring training and all that stuff's going through, I think we're going to see that rise in that demand for the football wax yet again.
Yeah, it's interesting because I belong to a couple of different groups on Facebook or whatnot, and they have, they're basically just selling wax to each other. It's just sealed wax products where everybody's exchanging and, buying or trading or whatever. And I feel like in the last 2 weeks, I've seen a bunch of posts where people post like a huge hoard stash of current retail wax, right? And they're like, who wants anything? And people are just laughing, because nobody wants anything. You know what I mean? So the demand definitely feels like it's fallen down for all cards. However, one thing I will say that I've noticed is that Mosaic, Prism, Select, Optic, those are untouchable and you still can't find them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those are not, when you go to the retail shelves, it used to be that everything was cleaned out, even the Chronicles and the freaking wild card or whatever junk, there wasn't a box to be found. You might be able to find some Pokemon energy or something, who knows? But now those high end products are gone. Everybody knows what day they come out and restock. They're gone right away. And then now we're sitting there with some medium level products. I mean, Topps 22 baseball is everywhere right now. You can find a box of that at probably your local drugstore if you still have one in town. I mean, it seems like that stuff's everywhere. Chronicles, football Chronicles, basketball is not a very hot product. It doesn't seem to be selling as well as it used to in the past. So yeah, I mean, be careful when you're out there hunting and you think you're going to, clean out the store or whatever. There may not be as much value in there as you think. You might be buying kind of a lesser desired style of card. So really pay attention to what you're buying and how much you're paying for it, because Walmart charges more for their retail wax than Target does on their website.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like if you're waiting for a product drop, might as well just sit in your house and buy it off Target, free shipping, instead of, running out to Walmart, unless you don't want to try to compete with bots. I get it, but you're still going to pay more. You're going to pay, you're going to pay that Walmart premium. I think they're grabbing like $40 for a blaster for NFL Mosaic at this point. And then what is it? Almost 30 for a freaking hanger. Like that stuff's insane. They're supposed to be 15 and 30. So paying markup on retail before you even, get anywhere, that's awful. So, I just wanted to make a comment. It looks like there's wax out there everywhere right now. All that retail stuff's just kind of sitting, except those super popular brands. So
That's also too people learning the hobby. You had a lot of people that jumped in and just were clearing shelves because that's what they heard.
mm-hmm.
I think through their own trial and error, learned what products sell and what products don't. But at the same time, I also don't mind seeing that, because now I don't feel bad when I go pick up 3 or 4 boxes of something and see a 12-year-old kid who gets nothing. So
Right, there's something for them.
Exactly. And I think it's easier maybe on some parents too, where now they're not paying the 50, 60, $80 for a box, where they could pick up, a relatively cheaper box. And, if you're a kid, unless you're turning it into a business at a very young age and a savant, you just want to open cards.
Yeah, you just want to rip them. You want to collect the players you love and move on with life,
So it's nice to see that they're actually still stuff on the shelves.
Yeah,
Personally,
I agree. I just wanted to highlight that for everybody, because it just seemed like there was a big shift, because it was like retail was not available anywhere for almost 2 years. And now I feel like it's prevalent. So that, I think that explains some of the shift, some of our insights here. Really good reasons for all that stuff. So, well, real good. Moving along, we've got our MLB standouts so far this season. And I have right now just a couple of hot picks I want to talk about. I've got a list over here. So I rank things off of wins above replacement. That is the ultimate stat to me. So that's what I like to talk about. If you like other stats, Robert, you feel free and chime in with what you want when we get that far, or anybody else in the audience. Wins above replacement, factors in a ton of different stats into one kind of overarching stat, both offense and defense. So that's really kind of an equalizer when you're trying to, evaluate the talent of what's out there for the season. So what's really interesting right now, what I'm seeing on the list, Mike Trout and Wander Franco are tied at 5th right now for wins above replacement. And I know that's huge because Wander is supposed to be like the next Mike Trout, and Trout's been playing pretty good so far this season. And it's, everything's looking like the stars are aligning. And I think that's really cool. So if you've been a Wander fan, if you've been buying Wander, congratulations. You're doing good for yourself right now. Let's hope there's no injuries or anything that, plagues the season. So that's been a great pickup for a lot of people. And another one that's kind of interesting, you don't hear about him as much anymore, but Juan Soto, I mean, obviously in his hometown, home market and everything, he's probably still super popular, but in the card industry, there's not as much buzz as there was, say 2 years ago about him. But he's on fire right now too. He's playing at a high level. He's just behind Mike Trout and Wander on the list. There's a couple of guys up at the top that veterans, just solid veterans. Manny Machado is the war leader right now in all of baseball. And he's just killing it on the offense, and he's also a solid defensive player. So I
think one of the most underrated third basemen, and just in the hobby, I think he's way, way, way undervalued.
I'm going to tell everybody right now, based on your statement of being undervalued, if you buy yourself Manny Machado rookie cards and he stays on his path for the rest of his career, what he's doing right now, you're going to make some money. You're going to enjoy those cards. He was a baseball villain, not very liked in some regards, but honestly, talent over talent, he's a hell of a player.
I think if he stopped playing baseball right now, he would still get into the Hall of Fame.
It's possible. I don't know what his all-time WAR ranking is. That's another thing that I kind of look at when I talk about those things, but that's definitely possible. He's been in the league since 13, I think, right? Mm-hmm. 9 years. So Nolan Arenado, pitcher, but again,
amazing.
Yeah, lights out type dude. But in the hobby, pitchers don't get anywhere near enough credit unless you're Nolan Ryan, Sandy Koufax, or Cy Young. Tom Seaver, no, he doesn't get any love. Let's see here. Who else is on my list that I want to talk about real quick? A couple of newer guys. Ke'Bryan Hayes is in the top 12, top 13. So congrats to him. And he could be a solid player to pick up right now, going through the rest of the season. Grab some rookie cards from last year, right?
Yep. And for Pittsburgh fans, he's going to be there for a while. Signing, I believe it was an 8-year contract. And the crazy part is it was the largest contract ever by Pittsburgh. And we'll just say that DeGrom this year is making half of his 7-year contract this season.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Most expensive contract ever in Pirates history. I believe it was $82 million.
Dang. I got two left here. I can't go without mentioning Anthony Rizzo, longtime player, just excellent, solid season, start to this season. Do I think his card values are going to shoot through the moon? No, not really. Is he a solid pickup for a low price? Probably right now, yeah.
If he stays on pace right now, he's going to have one of the best hitting career seasons he's ever had. He's number 1 right now with 8 home runs in the MLB. And he's number 3 right now with 18 RBIs. So it's one of those situations where his bat has really come alive. It kind of helps that he's in New York. It's not the largest field. And the way he pulls the ball, he's going to be jacking it out of right field as much as he possibly can. But he's one of those people that just his whole story, if you know nothing about Anthony Rizzo, just look at his story, look at his background, look where he came from. But he's definitely very much missed in Chicago. He's one of the nicer guys across MLB. But if he keeps up this year, I mean, that Yankee team it's been a while since we could say this, but if they stay healthy,
they're going to be contenders.
Scary.
Yep.
Like they're looking, I mean, with Gleyber, Aaron, I mean, they had 5 home runs, I think, in the game 2-3 days ago. So it's looking really, really scary out there in New York right now.
Yeah, and he's in a bigger market now too. So if he starts lighting it up and he's headline, what happens? Demand for his cards comes in. His prices then rise because there's less of them out there because people are buying them. So it's kind of a simple equation, guys. Just watch for those changes. And if you want to get in early right now, pick up some Rizzo rookies. I mean, you could do it. If it doesn't turn out, don't blame me because this isn't the gospel or investment advice. But literally he's on fire right now and it looks to be promising. 2 more guys. This is all I got. Francisco Lindor. He's in the top 20. We'd expect him to be there, right? He's just a good player all around. But again, good start to the season for him. And then this one should have bought some a long time ago. My friend Sean told me, like 2020 pandemic year on Clubhouse, he's like, dude, buy the shit out of Jazz Chisholm. Yep. And I'm like, who the hell is that guy? Right. And, I just wasn't following it closely enough to go after it. And I haven't picked any up, but now might be the time for me. I mean, he's already slightly prospecty expensive in the world of baseball, but not anywhere near like Bobby Witt, Wander Franco, or any of those guys. So
100%, and I'll agree with you. And this is going out to my friend Justin, locally in town. Me and him debate this a lot, especially with the Marlins. Jazz Chisholm is 100% that guy. Another guy coming off the Marlins who I always get into it with him is Jesus Sanchez. He's just one of those guys where that Florida Marlin team is very young. I hope and I pray, as being a South Florida boy, that we finally learn how to take care of a baseball team for once. I mean, 97, youngest team to ever win a World Series. Within 70 hours, the whole team is gone.
Yeah. I mean, the contracts were up and everything disappeared.
No, it was just nobody got re-signed. Contracts that weren't up got traded away. It was just terrible ownership. We did it again like 10 years later, broke it down again. I hope that we keep that team together. The pitching is very young. So Sanchez is going to be another stud coming from that team. So it's just one of those situations where they have everything going for them, but please keep it together. But we've seen organizations over the years not do that. But definitely, if you can potentially go and find some cheap Jazz Chisholm, buy him up.
Yes, sir.
One of the fastest guys in baseball. Hopefully he's one of the few that maybe 40 doubles, triples, stolen bases this year. It'd be nice to see. Maybe quad 40. I don't know that he has the power for the home runs. He's going to be more of a contact hitter type guy.
Yeah, I see him that way too, for sure.
But, if you could get 80 extra base hits and 40 stolen bases,
that'd be something.
Man, it'd be incredible to see.
All right, I can't end this segment without mentioning two pitchers that I'm big on, always have been. If you were to try to, this is kind of a random dare question. If you were to try to take any player in the MLB right now as a pitcher and compare him to Nolan Ryan as closely as possible, who gets up there right now? Who's got the tenure? Who's got the meat? Who's, you know what I mean, the experience? Played for a bunch of teams. He's in the list. He's number 40. I've actually collected a few of his cards already. I got some rookies. I got some graded stuff. But it's a really long-term sneaky play for me because I feel like he's going to end up being a little bit like the Nolan Ryan over time. We'll see how long he lasts. Any guesses?
Scherzer?
Close. Zach Greinke.
Okay.
So
and he's one of those guys too. He's a very strange fellow. And because he's back in Oakland now?
I don't even know which team he's on at the moment. Let me open this up and see what it says. He is playing for Kansas City.
He's back in Kansas, yeah. But he's had some very, very awkward times. He's another one of those guys where if you don't know him, go look up his story. He's always been an outcast, always been the weird guy. One of the few pitchers I've seen stand on the mound and tell you what he's going to throw you, and you still not be able to hit it.
That reminds me of Nolan Ryan, that kind of stuff, that same, that grit.
Definitely has that swagger and that attitude, and he's not a very loud guy. He does it all on the field, which I definitely say is very Ryan-esque. But Ryan he just had the length of his career.
His longevity was ridiculous. I mean, his rookie card was in the 60s, and he retired in the mid 90s. For God's sakes, you guys.
Yeah, I don't know that we're ever going to see pitching get to be that longevity again. I mean, I think that kind of stems from the MLB changing the balls every year, what they're allowed to use, what they're not allowed to use. I mean,
pack and bags and all this other stuff that they're changing rules for. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. The other pitcher I have, a local favorite for me, Corbin Burns, starting this season really hot again. He was good last year, won the Cy Young, and he is on fire this year. 2020 rookie, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 2020 rookie. So go out and buy some of his stuff. The Brewers are a hot mess from one day to the next. It could be awesome or terrible. You don't even know which one you're going to get. It's kind of like having a baby. But Corbin Burns is solid. He's looking like a hell of a pitcher no matter where he ends up.
If I had to throw you a pitcher to go out there and look at right now, it's actually going to be a whole team to go look at, because I think the whole team is very, very overlooked with everything else that's going on in baseball, with Trout being healthy, Ohtani coming back. The Seattle Mariners haven't really had the clout. Griffey helped bring them up a lot. Then they had Ichiro. But since Ichiro left, they really haven't had much out there to really kind of throw a stick at. But right now they have a young man, Logan Gilbert, is throwing the ball for them. He's got a .4 ERA.
He's number 2 right now in pitching for
Well,
WAR.
as he should. He's a .4 ERA. I believe it's like 32 or 34 strikeouts, which is good. But the best number is going to be that big old 0 by bases on balls.
Yep.
And I don't know if people realize how hard that is to do. I also believe that he's only giving up 6 to 7 hits per 9 innings.
He's got only 2 runs allowed on the season.
It's just one of those things where if he can keep that up, you're talking not just career numbers, but league numbers. And obviously with pitching, it's hard to do. People go in and out of it. Eventually people are going to learn, but maybe they don't. Maybe he's just got that stuff. He's one for me that I'm picking up a couple of his stuff, some Kyle Lewis stuff. I mean, Seattle is just a very overlooked team. I think they're kind of shadowed by what was the Seahawks, and now with no Wilson over there, we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll turn back to baseball. And if they do, that'll also be good for the hobby, driving those prices up if you have any of those stuff. But really, it's going to be very interesting. I think one guy that is being overlooked is DeGrom. I still think he has one of the nastiest arms in all of the MLB. It's just so early in the season that these guys need to get used to the balls. I mean, this past week, there was not a major incident, but you had a pitcher from the Mets calling out the MLB. All the balls are different. The first inning are great touch and great feel. Third inning, terrible, this, that, the other. They need to develop a system where the balls are uniform, or the MLB needs to come out with an approved product to allow them to use. At the end of the season last year, when they did the midseason change of sticky tack and what they were allowed and not allowed to use, it's just one of those situations where you had a couple of guys who blame their injuries on the MLB and changing that rule so suddenly. I just don't see that being done in any other sport. That's like in the middle of NBA season, then moving the 3-point line back 3 feet.
Yeah, I mean,
it can't be done. But it was done because that's what MLB does, and Manfred is just not my favorite person in the whole wide world. That's all I'll say about him. But I think they need to listen to the players a little bit more. It's also, just as baseball as a whole for teams, the Dodgers, they just look so good.
It's kind of sickening, and it's even weirder because they lost Pujols and they're still good.
Pujols really wasn't. I mean, they lost Pujols, but I mean, they picked up Freddie again, one of the greatest guys in all of baseball. And watching him leave Atlanta, I understand Atlanta was making moves, stay a little bit younger, this, that, the other. I get it. But when you have someone who was basically the face of the franchise for so many years, I mean, he'll be talked about in Atlanta probably forever. His last at bat for Atlanta was a home run in the World Series. His last play in the field was catching the third out to win a World Series. There's no better way to leave an organization than on that sense. But to see an organization let a player like that go because of 1 year on a contract deal, give the man what he wants. I mean, he helped get you there. But I think Atlanta is another one of those very scary teams. They just have filled all the pieces. You got Ozzie Albies, who's kind of becoming the face of that team right now.
And he's doing good too, as you mentioned his name. He's in the top 20.
Yeah, he's got 6 home runs, a bunch of multi-base hits. So, he's just one of those guys that's doing very well. But, I mean, I like getting back to, Wander because I'm a little biased.
Right.
For those of you that don't know. But it's just that situation where even Mike Trout, he had a short season 2 seasons ago because of COVID and everything else. Last year he gets hurt, misses the last 2.5 months of the season. If we can have a healthy year of Mike Trout, it's going to be amazing for baseball.
I want the Angels to win a chip. I got a bunch of Trout stuff. I would love to see it appreciate even more. Do you think that'd be fun? If
they stay healthy, I think they have a chance. I mean, It's any given day with baseball, picking up, I believe Noah Syndergaard's pitching with them now, good rotation. That's always been their problem for probably the past 3 to 4 years, has been their pitching rotation. So it's going to be interesting to see if they make any moves coming, into the middle of the season this year. Obviously, they have Ohtani, but Ohtani's only one man. He can only do so much. And again, for him, he needs to stay healthy. This will be the first time we've had multiple years of a healthy Ohtani to see if he can replicate what he did last year.
Right.
But for me, it's just one of the youngest teams out there too is Toronto. And Vladdy was coming out talking about how last year was just a preview. This year's going to be the movie. They've been playing decent, but I don't think they've been living up to those standards quite yet. Again, baseball is very, very early on this season. I know that people are getting into the swing of things, but it's going to be a great year for baseball. A lot of competition across the board, a lot of young teams, which I love seeing, but it's just super fun to watch.
Yeah, dude, I really enjoyed this segment. This one was fun. Might be one of the most fun conversations we've had back and forth on the show so far. So great job to us for that. All right, this is our last topic today, and then I have a segue at the end. But Robert, you've been making some moves with your rainbow collection. Can you give us a synopsis of what's been going on?
Yeah, just you got to play the market as the market goes. And as much as I may be a diehard Wander fan and probably had one of the most collected 2021 Bowman Wander rainbows, I moved probably about 100 or so pieces this past week. I kept 3 together, but it's nice to get in there and, I traded one for an upgrade on a Wander card, a nice little orange cracked ice out of 75. I'm trying to go after more of the higher priced items. Figured I'd pick up an Acuna Jr. auto rookie just because I don't have anything of his in my collection.
Nice.
So it's always when you're collecting, when you're buying, when you're doing stuff, if you can make your profit, take it. And that's the way I look at it. Even with a PC guy, I have one set that is sent off with the parents. It's still in the tuxedo box. I did not read what scores I got. It's not open.
It's just sitting there.
That's where it's going to stay for probably another 10 years. I'm just not going to touch it. I got 2 more off at grading right now. Another one is just going to go sit with my folks. And I have another one through my local LCS that's doing that.
And when you say another one, I just want to help the audience a little bit. You mean full rainbows, right?
Yes, this is sky blue out of 499 through orange out of 25. It's a total of 8 cards.
Okay.
399 or 499, 399, 299, 250, 150, 99, 75, 50, 25.
Rock and roll. And obviously, the what, 10s, 5s, and 1 of 1.
Well, no 10s in this run. There's only out of 5, which I have yet to see in the market anywhere.
Okay. Fair
if
enough.
Anybody does see it, please contact either one of us.
Let him know.
Get down in the comments. Leave us a comment on the page. Find us anywhere. I will be that guy, and I will make it worth your while for helping that deal go through. But for me, it's always been about collecting something different in the rainbows. So now one of my most highly regarded products is 2021 Bowman. I think Bowman in general is the best baseball product out there, as do a lot of people. I happen to like 2021 for the class that it is. It's huge amount of prospects, great rookies, great first Bowmans, great everything. So now I kind of got rid of those pieces to engulf the rainbow world, and I'm going to try to paper prospect, paper first Bowman, and paper rookie the whole set of 2021 Bowman.
Ooh, look at you. Big ambitions, big ambitions. I love it, man. Thank you for that update. One thing I want to point out real quick, if you've been watching a few episodes, have you subscribed yet? Because 99% of our viewers are not subscribers. And so we would love to have you as a regular. Pop the notification bell so you'll see a notification every time we have a new video. And then lastly here today, I just want to show you, I went to a new card shop. They opened last week, Wednesday. They're close to an hour away from me in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and it's Green Bay City Cards. And the gentleman there, wonderful guy, went in the shop today. He used to have a shop for about 16 years, and he closed it in 2007. and then kind of recently got back into the shop business. And so I wandered in there, like my pun. And he had a bunch of sealed wax, he had a bunch of singles, good conversation. And I picked up, because Ja had such an incredible game, I picked up a base Chronicles Recon rookie Gem Mint 10, really good price on that from him. And then also he had one of my heartstrings. He had a numbered Giannis Prism that I picked up. This is a blue Sky's the Limit from 2016. I have an orange, I think it's a PSA 9 or PSA 10, which is numbered to 49. But just shout out to Green Bay City Cards. Seems like an awesome shop. Their grand opening is this weekend, so check it out if you're in my area. And then, as I usually sign off these shows here, I don't care if you think we're good or if you think we're bad. Just tell your friends about us so they can come watch. Robert, anything in closing, bud?
Have fun, enjoy the week, enjoy all the sports going on, and let's see what happens tomorrow in the draft.
Go Bucks. All right, guys. See you later.